Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And this is Dan. And we are both real estate agents spanning across the globe.
Yep.
Depending
Wait,
on
you and I are?
Yeah. Depending on which way you go. If we go the other way.
Around the globe. I go left around the globe. You go right around the globe. Huh?
That's right. So if you're just joining us and this is your first time, you can watch this show every Wednesday at 12ish. Today's 12:02. And then you can comment live and we can display your comment, just like Jem. She said you are not millennial, which is in response to one of the cool stories that we have. We have a couple of millennial stories. I am technically on the cusp of millennialism. I'm right in the middle there. So
and in our Be More Contributors group, Ashley said the same thing. She's like, she's on the cusp. She's 35, and she's like, I won't claim it.
No, she is 37 is is like the cutoff, I think.
So
82 is the weird year.
Yeah, you were born in a weird year.
Mm-hmm. So thanks everyone for joining the show. If you could. If you like this show, we'd appreciate it if you would share this show to your timeline and into real estate groups and stuff like that. A lot of this show is dedicated to real estate agents. However, we also have a lot of consumer information. We're going to talk a little bit about construction this week, mortgage applications, but we're also going to be talking about international investors pulling out of commercial. But then we have two stories about other real estate brokerages, one being Keller Williams. They're rolling out their concierge program, and the other one being Century 21 / Remax.
And we're gonna live research a Compass one and see if there's anything.
I was about to say we have breaking news.
Yeah, literally breaking news. We're gonna research it though. If it's not good, we won't cover it.
Pete Thorpe, Melissa Mara says, "I am not one." She refuses. Jared Wobble says, "I'm 32 and I don't claim it." No one does because it's kind of negative connotation now, but y'all really should claim it. I think because y'all would help maybe spur the change. Be the change you want to create. Or wait, create. What is that?
Be the change that you want to be in the world. See the change
you want to see. Maybe that's it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Dan, before we get into the show, because that just happened, she said. Before we get into the show, why don't you tell everyone what Be More is actually all about?
I would love to. All right. So when Ray and I met in 1984, do you remember 1984?
I do.
Yeah.
Barely.
Ray and I were really good friends. We were close. We were just getting out of high school and we were about to go to college. Remember that? We were about to go to college.
Yep.
Dad drove us there in the station wagon. He had the cruise control set at 35 the entire way.
Okay.
And then when we got there was a bunch of really I don't want to tell you their fraternity name, but they were like kind of dicky jockey agents. You remember that?
Was it like an Animal House up in there?
Kind of like that, but we had to. They were
like
really
every 80s show ever. is exactly what you're describing.
Well, I'm about to give it away though, but they were kind of jerks to us, and then we had to find our own way, and we found our own fraternity that loved us, and then we got our revenge.
Oh, the nerds!
Remember that?
My favorite, man. I saw like nerds 1 through 8.
There was a lot of them.
There was a lot of them. And I related so well. I literally watched.
Dude,
I watched them all.
To put things in perspective, when that came out, I was 11 and Ray was 2.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, so I was obviously older when I watched it.
Yes. So anyway,
I probably watched that in the 90s and when I was in high school and college.
Did y'all? Yeah. Look at Marley's got some. She's like, I love being a millennial. She's 25, 26, I think.
There you go.
And she
said,
loves.
Did y'all have cruise control back then?
Oh, right. Yeah, it was just invented. It was actually my 72 El Camino had cruise control. So.
Oh, nice. And Jared says you pronounce his last name Wable.
Wable. We always forget, Jared. We always forget.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we did have cruise control, but yeah, I always remember that joke. Got the old cruise control set at 35, and everyone's honking at them, flying around them. But anyway, no, Ray and I did not meet in 1984, and we were not going to college then, and we were definitely not nerds. We were not nerds. Okay, I totally was, but
I definitely was.
Ray and I met on the interwebs about 2 years ago, and I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very, very interesting about him as well.
That's right.
He wore one shoe only. I don't know if you guys know that about Ray, but he only wears one shoe.
That's
the other
where
one is a
shoeless Ray comes from.
Yeah, he only wears one shoe. The other is a Birkenstock. I don't know. I'm just making up facts about Ray. So he had a layout for a show, and it's the same layout we have today. You know, we do our little intro here, we hit all the stories, then we deep dive, and then we close it out. It's the same layout. So I had the idea for the show. He had the layout for the show. We combined Wonder Beard powers combined, and we came up with the Bearded Men of Real Estate. Plus, we like the acronym BMORE, Be More. So it's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
Yeah, and it seems like we have countless times use some of the news stories or topics that we cover on this little show throughout the week as we meet with sellers and buyers, as we're doing our job as real estate agents. It's really interesting how often some of these news stories come up. So we'd love to hear your feedback on this. That's why we do the show live, and that's why we don't pre-record it, because you guys are part of the show and your comments are part of the show, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Jared does forgive us. He says it's all good. It could have been worse. Mispronunciation of his name. Melissa Mara says Mandels. Ray rocks the Mandels. Is that it? I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Sandals.
Oh, Mandels, sandals. I
get
didn't know
it.
that was the thing.
Hold on. Literally, as we Mandels, Ray rocks the Mandels. Mantels. So I'm literally sharing the show as we.
I thought you already shared. I shared the show.
I'm sharing it to a friend right now. I'm copying the link. So yeah,
very specific. It's a very specific. You're just inviting one person to watch the show. Hey, this is for you. Let's see. I'm looking for the article that Pete. There it is. Okay.
And we can add it. So don't say it.
Okay.
Because we don't know if it's good yet.
Okay. Interesting. I'm just finding the acquisition, not the shutter, but we will find the shutter.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are you ready to get into the headlines?
Yes, I am.
Melissa Mara says, I see Ray sharing the show. Thank you. I see you seeing me share the show. Okay. So the first article we have, first two articles are going to be about millennials. First, here's why millions of millennials are not homeowners. So in the category of what could help you communicate with your future clients, this could be one of them. Okay. So the reasons range from personal preference to economic disadvantages and add up to a generational home ownership rate that is lower than that of their parents. Quote, in my generation, I am a baby boomer. You bought a home as quickly as you could, said Lori Goodman of the Urban Institute. You didn't take vacation for years and save the money and down payment for your first home. So what drives home ownership? Marriage. It turns out that it increases one's likelihood of owning a home by 18%. And millennials are wedding later and less. The average age is in the 60s was 20 years old. We're in the 20s. Based on a survey by the Urban Institute, 53% said they could not afford a down payment. 33% said they could not qualify for a mortgage. 28% rent for convenience. 26% say it's cheaper to rent. 24% say they are moving soon. 23% say owning a home is a big financial risk, and 21% say they prefer to rent. Now, if you added up all those,
that equals 8,000%.
So this was a survey in which you could have multiple answers, but the average age currently is in the 30s. So the average age to wed is currently in the 30s, which increases home ownership by 18%. So that's why we're seeing millennials own homes later. Let's see. Jesse Friend says it's Generation Z that I'm worried about.
Yeah, those zombies.
Melissa Mara. Yeah, there was a movie about that.
Melissa Mara, definitely not going to buy.
She said because they're in major debt and no one taught them how to manage money. Also, forget marriage. I think there's a lot of people that are wedding less. I mean, that's what one of the stats was. However, there's also a lot of millennials that are just enjoying the money they have, going on vacation. They're not saving up. The number one reason why people weren't buying a home said they could not afford a down payment. So that means they were not liquid, didn't have cash on hand, which could very well be because they're enjoying more of their time on a vacation. They'd rather go to Florida, right? They'd rather go to Cali, Hawaii, Europe, hike. But back in my day, I remember people going on vacations and like staying in hostels and stuff. And now there's much more going on. Jesse Friend said there's mortgage brokers in my area that are pre-approving buyers with a credit score as low as 580. Wow.
Well, I mean, for FHA, yeah, or is that on a conventional?
She said it's because YOLO. Like YOLO. You only live once. All right, so we have another millennial news story. Dan.
So you want to know what the other end of the spectrum is?
What is the other end of the spectrum?
Older millennials are driving home prices higher again. So
what?
Millennials aren't buying, but the ones that are driving home prices up. So they're to blame for everything. They're to blame for not buying and buying. So also known as a lose-lose. So they may have waited longer than previous generations, but millennials are now showing a strong desire to become homeowners, especially older millennials. That is strengthening overall demand for the limited supply of homes for sale and consequently reigniting the fire under home prices. Home price gains had been shrinking. By the way, the last millennial I helped, she pushed the home prices down because me. Anyway, home price gains had been shrinking over the last year, but the increases turned higher again this summer. Home prices were up 3.6% in July compared with July 2018, according to CoreLogic. That is stronger than the 3.4% gain in June. CoreLogic is now predicting an even larger 5.4% annual gain by July of 2020. So they're predicting the home prices and gains are still going to go up. This is a quote from Frank Notheft, the chief economist. I said it right. At CoreLogic, sales of new and existing homes this July were up from a year ago, supported by low mortgage rates and rising family income. With the for sale inventory remaining low in many markets, the pickup in buying has nudged price growth up. If low interest rates and rising income continue, then we expect home price growth will strengthen over the coming year. And then I made myself a little note, like I said. I don't know. Is that a thing? I don't know. I'm going to save the question for later, but they're driving prices up. Is that truly because there's limited inventory, or are agents conditioned to just offer highest and best right now? Totally separate conversation, but I wanted to bring up that question.
That is an interesting conversation. Well, always look and see when the millennials grew up and what they grew up through and what my generation grew up through, this weird middle section. And you remember we had the housing crisis that everything imploded and exploded. So
for you were 24, 25, 26, somewhere around there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as your possible home buying years, it all exploded.
Well, and we saw the height of the market too. So maybe there's an understanding that you have to pay for what you want.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition. I think you have some that are going to, offer $100,000 for a $400,000 house, and you have some that'll offer $425,000. And there's really not very much in between. There's not many who are the old school that want a traditional comparative market analysis to figure out what homes are selling for and the offer close to that. They either go one extreme or the other, in my experience. Let's see. Let's get some of these comments in here. Jesse Friend said, we said the same thing, Dan.
About the lose-lose for millennials.
And she said, I'm selling 2 homes right now for 2 families that are in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Average price in her area is $80,000. Wow. She said there's not even half the homes for sale in our area like it was a year ago. Yeah, so we actually have a bit of an increase in inventory lately.
She's in Arkansas as well. Yeah, just further out in the sticks.
Up north.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, speaking of people buying a house, we know the rates are dropping, but weekly mortgage refinances are also dropping. I can't even, there's not even the whole, I don't know why it did that. Hang on. Hold on. Hold up. All right, let's try to copy and paste this one more time.
I have it here.
There you go. All right, weekly mortgage refinances fall further despite lower interest rates.
There you go.
So this topic, that's the next topic. So after holding steady for a bit, the mortgage application volume dropped again this week. However, volume was still 62% higher than a year ago. Quote, ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and China led to volatile yet declining treasury rates last week, causing the 30-year fixed mortgage to fall to a 3.87%.
Wow.
The lowest level since November of 2016, said Joel Kahn, MBA's Associate Vice President of Economic and Industry Forecasting. Mortgage applications to purchase a home, which have been less restrictive to lower rates, rose 4% for the week and were 5% higher than a year ago. Consumers continue to act on the lower rates, but volatility in the market is likely leading some borrowers to pause refinancing and buying decisions. Let's see. Sorry, just lost my space. Purchase demand usually rises more when rates dip, much as they have, but home prices are so high that supply and affordable homes are so low that potential buyers are pulling back. Home price gains had been shrinking for much of this year, but began strengthening in July, according to several reports. That coincided with the supply of homes for sale falling again as well.
If you take anything from the show, read past the headlines. I mean, that headline literally says weekly mortgage refinances fall further despite lower interest rates. But then when you read the article, we're up, what did it say, 62% over last year?
Yeah, 62% over last year. So it sounds terrible, but mortgage application volume,
right,
dropped again, but was still 60% higher.
Okay, so dropped again from last week, but that's because it was crazy high. But here's the thing, you got to remember, like, if you just read the headlines and just go by the sentiment out of there, and I'm talking to consumers, I'm talking to real estate agents right now. Oh, well, everything sucks, we're all going to die, because that generates news cycles, right? But just read past it. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot more buyers in the market, in the pool right now than a year ago. That article says it right there, even though the headline doesn't.
Thanks, Pete Thorpe, for joining us, who's late to the show today because of the gym. Go, Jim.
Everyone pronounces that wrong, dude. It's pronounced Geim.
Back to what you were talking about. The rates are lower. The home sales. Are you cracking yourself up right now? He's cracking himself up. Look at this. That's so funny. You're crying.
That's funny to me. Sorry. Go ahead.
But the rates are lower, and home prices or home sales are a little lower. And it says this right at the end. It said that it is coinciding with supply. So as supply is increasing, home sales are increasing, and that's what we've seen here too. So in several of the markets, we've seen that happen.
Right.
Melissa Marr said she saw articles. Gosh. Jared said that makes us all wonder what's in his cup.
And I always say, don't ever ask what's in the cup, because this goes with you. This is on appointments. This is on when I coach softball, and I was like, don't ask what's in the cup.
Okay, well, let's talk about international investors pulling out.
Okay, so let me scroll down to it. This one was submitted, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if you're a listener, if you're a viewer right now. We do have our page. You need to go like our page, the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. But we also have a contributors page, which we've been getting a lot. I think we're up to 60 something members now. So this comes from our good friend Tim Macy of the Tim Macy Show and #whiteboxing. He contributed to the show and threw in an article. So I'd like to give him a shout out. And this is from CNBC. International investors became net sellers of commercial real estate this year for the first time since 2012. There was no one country accounting for the change. Instead, a small pullback in purchases that changed the investment equation. Investors made direct acquisitions totaling $21.3 billion in the first half of 2019, but sold a little bit more than $21.4 billion. So they've sold more than they bought. And that is from a new report from Real Capital Analytics. This is a quote. This is from Jim Costello. I'm going to say Costello. He's the senior VP at Real Capital Analytics. Prices are at record high levels in the U.S. Our cap rates are at record low levels. on the face of it, it would be hard for investors to put money to work in the U.S. The yield opportunity is not what it was a few years ago. So Blackstone, and this is going to it's going to cover in a second, but Blackstone is buying U.S. warehouse properties from Singapore-based GLP for $18.7 billion. So that one deal, which I'll cover in a second, is going to say a lot. In the second quarter alone, acquisitions dropped 37% from a year ago. That is due in part to some very large deals that closed last year. So the comparison to this year was skewed by that. When international investors purchase assets in the U.S., they typically have to put a lot of money to work at once in order to be operationally efficient, meaning they got to buy and then put money in it to get their business going. They don't just buy empty space, right? Mm-hmm. The same is true of huge sales. And this is a quote, another quote from Costello. We will see a huge net selling by cross-border investors in the second half of the year when the announced purchase of GLP by Blackstone closes. So what does this mean? I mean, two things. What does this mean for real estate agents? Does it mean much? And what does it mean for consumers?
So I think in both cases, it should mean that you have an inordinate amount of investment properties that are now available to purchase, right?
Because they're selling books of business, right? They're selling portfolios. So
unless they very slowly sell these, which I don't think that's going to happen if they're all going to do it in Q3.
No, they're selling them all.
So if they're selling as much as possible, then that's going to flood the market with inventory on the low end, which everyone has been wanting. Right. Which we speculated about this last year when we heard about some of these purchases. We were talking about, well, as they get ready to sell, it's going to fix the inventory issue on the low end for sure, and maybe some in the mid range. It's kind of depending on where they've purchased. So for both agents and for consumers, this could be a good thing. If you're looking to purchase a house, you want more selection, or if you're looking to purchase an investment, because some of them will already be full with a renter who's paying money.
I'm trying to think selfishly here. Yeah, Doug Johnston. Dudes.
Doug Johnston is checking in there. Hey, buddy.
I'm thinking for me personally, how do I jump into the commercial real estate business? What clients do I have that have a small business that are trying to go to the next level, or maybe that marijuana business?
When the world goes on sale, will we have the cash to capitalize?
And it sounds like the commercial world is about to go on sale.
It does.
So it makes let's catch up on.
I wonder if these are. This was one of my questions that I should have mentioned earlier before my comment, but it says commercial. But I know in our MLS, whenever you have a multifamily package, or you have a package of homes, single family homes, sometimes it's sold as a quote unquote commercial deal, but it's not really.
Okay.
Ours is a whole bunch of individual investment packages. Wow. Doug says we are short 20K homes, not homes valued at 20K. They are 20,000 homes short of what they need.
They need to have a healthy market. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. And Doug, where are you? That's a big shortage. There's a lot of things happening in my brain right now. How to figure out commercial real estate and jump into the market. And Doug is 20,000 homes short.
Did you say that? Would you say that's a big short? More on that. Stay tuned. All right.
The big short, small, tall guy.
There you go. Let's talk about KW Concierge. If any of you are with KW, especially if you are using this program, we'd love to hear from you. Or tag someone who is, that we can hear from them too. So Keller Williams to roll a new concierge program in 3 states. So the KW Concierge program basically fronts the money required to allow a homeowner to make improvements and modifications to a home to maximize their listing value, and then pay it back when the listing sells. Summarizing KW President Josh Team. Redfin and Compass also have similar offerings. Quote, this is Josh Team. This is something that we've been hearing our agents and clients are wanting to get top dollar for their property. Our labs, KW Labs, our labs processes is all about making sure that our agents get to decide what our offerings are. Our agents have asked us to be part of our offerings, and so we're rolling that out. They are compiling the data to figure out exactly what's working to improve the value and what isn't. Currently, a small amount of interest is charged for the upfront cost, but the goal is to get that fee down to zero.
So that's their goal, but so essentially they're a hard money lender, like for a short term. So, I mean, are they? Is this a good or a bad thing? I mean, we should deep dive this one.
This is interesting. Just to hear what they're doing. Compass and Redfin are already doing it. I think the most interesting comment in here, that may be the most valuable comment, is that they are compiling the data to figure out what's actually working to improve the value and what isn't.
Right. But that okay, we should come back to it because we should rip through the stories.
Well,
or do you want to shallow dive it right now?
Well, we could shallow dive it right now. The reason why I think that's interesting is because every year there's this remodel survey done. Have you ever seen this?
No.
There's a remodel survey that is sent out, and I download the remodel thing. So they always ask me. And one of the questions they say is, how much does this improve the value if you do the kitchen, if you do the bath, if you do that?
Right. Okay.
And they compile all the data from opinions, basically, of everyone who does remodels and flips and investment properties. And then they produce this document saying, if you put $1 into your kitchen, you'll get out $1.30 or whatever it is. So I want to know, based on the KW data, which I'm sure they'll release to their agents first, but
are they calling that? Are they saving that anywhere?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's going into their database of what the list price was, what the people had offered, and what that list price and what the improvements were. I guess they have to put all that into the system. So supposedly there's vendors, but there's also agents who want to use their own vendors, and so all this data has to be compiled somehow.
Because if the house is somewhat updated inside 6 years ago, but it has old windows and an old roof, do they do the old windows and old roof? Because do you really get that money back? I guess if the house is already updated, you would.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like
Melanie Hayes said, I love this. I don't think Compass charge interest. They see homes selling faster and for more.
Because that's interesting, right? So if you just have to do the kitchen, what is that? 2.5, 3 weeks if you don't have to do too much, right?
Yeah.
So the entire time you're marketing the home and getting it prepped, and hey, look, and if you're the agent, you can say, hey, look, we're doing a little mini flip. It'll be ready in a month. Right. And you're building all that anticipation for it. Now you have technically or hypothetically or potentially you have a 10 out of 10 home. Right. You're going to get your money right back again, potentially. But did you see the question by Ellis? So Patrick, did you? So
about to put up
the market tanks.
If the market drops and drags down the value of the home, who takes the loss?
So these are like little mini flips, right? They're like little mini improvements. So
it sounds like the funds are being borrowed from KW.
But so if that, Melissa, it's over a month if you're her. So if it takes more than a month and the market has a crazy shift, what happens? So if you're putting 20 grand into the house.
Yeah, Ellis, a home inspector, says, I'd like to see the algorithm that proves that a 10K kitchen update will equal a $10 increase in value.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
Melanie Hayes said Compass is also offering bridge loans. And she said the seller's the one that takes the loss. They have to have enough equity in the home to do this.
Right. It's like a little loan. It's like like she said, a bridge loan. So
unless now the people are upside down. So I guess you have to have enough equity in the home to put a lien against the home. So now your real estate agent is your creditor.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where it's getting, because essentially
it's kind of dicey if the market turns, doesn't it?
It is. Well, and then you're gonna have a bunch of agents walking around. Patrick meant a 10,000.
I thought he meant a 10K. But on the flip side, what if they processed all this data and saw that a 10K kitchen improved the home $10?
Right.
That's what I was thinking. Like that would be an interesting.
Right. So as we get closer and closer to this, this crash or whatever that we're going to cover in a little bit, that may or may not happen, but is the value still there? And then the part I like about it is they're kind of circumventing the iBuyer program. They're getting rid of like the Open Door, and they're saying, no, do this all yourself. Don't sell it to Open Door for $40K less. Let us put 10 grand into it and we'll sell it for max dollar because you'll potentially have the 10 out of 10 home.
Melanie Hayes said Compass has turned down some.
Right, which I think is smart. And I don't want
to. Cameron.
Hey,
he said
our national state correspondent.
That's right. He said it's a dangerous practice in some markets. Our homes receive a Q rating 1 through 4. We don't receive direct adjustments for granite and so on.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I hope not. Granite's out of date.
Yeah, man. Quartz.
Should be quartz, baby.
Quartz all the rage.
Yeah. Actually, I've predicted for the last 7 years, I've been predicting stainless steel countertops. Hasn't happened yet, but you just wait.
Those concrete ones came and went, though.
Yeah, they went fast. They're cool looking, but they're pretty impractical.
Yeah. And heavy. So,
stainless steel, though, dude. Stainless steel.
That would feel like a real restaurant kitchen.
So there's, to do a little side note, there's a Lakewood where I work a lot. There's a tract of homes that were all built and they all had stainless steel countertops and they were killer looking. I sold one a little while back that had the original kitchen in it. You literally just cut everything and it all swept right into the sink. It's amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm just saying, wait until Chip and Joanna have their new network and they do stainless steel countertops. Dan predicted it here on whatever day this is.
Stainless steel shiplap behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, stainless steel shiplap. That's the next level.
So leather finish marble, yes, it's super pretty, but is it super practical for kitchen countertops? I would say.
I was going to say, is it heat resistant?
I would go bathroom countertops. All right, so interesting topic. Love to hear more of your thoughts, especially if you're a KW agent, especially if you've used this and it's worked for one of your sellers. We have a list of things that we ask our sellers to do, and the ones that do them usually come out right.
And I don't think it's a crazy practice. Like they're coming up with some, Compass. Who's doing it? Compass and
Compass,
KW.
Redfin, KW.
Redfin. So I don't think it's a crazy practice, like some brand new idea. They're like, oh my gosh, this is blowing my mind. Because whenever I meet with a seller, I'm going to say, hey, your house is worth this much. If you do paint and carpet, it'll cost you this much, but it'll get you this much,
right?
Potentially. So it's something we've always done, but now they're saying we, as the brokerage, as the agent, we will front the money, and then if you don't pay us back, we're going to break your kneecaps. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, so, that's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of construction spending,
I just went live about this. So it's interesting. It's interesting that Ray threw this in there because I just went live about new construction yesterday. So I'm going to rip through this one. There's a lot of stats and facts. If you want to see the article, it's on Housing Wire. It's literally called construction spending. It's ticks up 0.1%. All right. So spending on U.S. construction during July was estimated at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.3 trillion with a T, rising 0.1% from the revised June estimate of 1.29 trillion. That is from the U.S. Census Bureau. July spending was 2.7 below a year earlier. Spending on private construction was at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 963.1 billion, or 1% below the revised June estimate of 963.7 billion, and 4.8% below a year ago. Of that, residential construction spending was at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 506.7 billion in July, which is 0.6 above the revised June estimate of 503.5 billion, but 6.6% down from a year ago. All right, lots of stats. What does that mean? People are spending less on their homes. All right. That's, remember, personal. And so then there's the home builder confidence in that is the new construction and stuff. So a measure of home builder confidence in August revealed that although the construction industry's outlook is improving, many builders still see affordability concerns as a major hurdle for production. And then where does it see? Here's a quote. I'm going to skip to a quote from the NAHB chairman, Greg Ugaldi. Builders report solid demand for single family homes. However, they continue to grapple with labor shortages, a dearth of buildable lots, and rising construction costs that are making it increasingly challenging to build homes at affordable price points relative to buyer incomes. And then you have, so I skipped a bunch there, but there's the chief economist that says, blah, blah, blah. It's affordability concerns is what it is. So builders are trying to build new homes, but with costs rising, how are they building affordable homes for that market? So
blah blah blah.
Yeah. That's what sums that up. So home builders want to build homes, but it's expensive and can't build them for affordable markets.
And the three basic things we're looking at are materials, labor, and land.
Yes.
Right? All
and then
high.
And then my live yesterday went into a specific house I held open, which is $150 in an HOA, and then another 0.8% in taxes. And when you do all that math, it kills your purchase power by 160 grand. It's about $46 per 10,000 right now. Does that make sense? I know it does to you, Ray, but I mean for your mortgage payment, every $46 equals 10 grand. So if you do all that math, another $800 a month equals, if we did the math at $50 per 10,000, $160,000 purchase price. So your $500,000 budget is now $340 with 150 HOA and a $650 a month tax increase.
And that does not get you much out there.
No, that would take you from an awesome single family, even if it has a no lot, but it would take you from a single family or a resale house with a lot, with a pool, whatever, down to a condo or a townhome, and you're attached. You might be in the middle of people, and share a couple walls and all that stuff. So it changes things quite a bit.
Most of the new construction in our MLS, I'll have to double check, but I think the number is somewhere around 300 to 400,000, and they're not going far below that. I think actually most of it's closer to 400 and up. So luxury in our market would be considered 500 because it's the top 2.5% of the market. If you're in a million, you're in the top 1% of the market. So if you're around 300 to 400, that's still pretty high prices in our area, but that's where builders want to build because they're not making the profit off of the smaller homes.
Right. So they want to push almost to the luxury, but not quite luxury.
Right.
But then that buyer pool thins out as well.
It does. And that market gets saturated kind of quickly. So then you're looking at homes that are having price drops that are new construction, which years ago we never saw.
And then
never have a price drop on a new construction
home. Melissa messaged me and said she's showing new construction today or tomorrow, and these specific buyers want to look in resale new construction because the new construction sitting and not being built, and they're taking their time, and the builders are kind of jerks.
Interesting.
So they're looking at there you go. So Dan, the neighborhood I was telling you about, resale homes we'll be looking at this is exactly what I'm talking about. 375 to 475, and it's a 55 plus community. So that's what I asked it in the Be More Contributors group. But Ray, do you have the special assessments on your new construction, or is it just property taxes that takes hold?
Usually just property taxes, and that's honestly not a gigantic factor here. Sometimes there's special improvement taxes or special improvement fees or whatever, if the area was improved by the city in order for the builder to make the development, but those are possible for you.
But how long does that last for?
It depends, I think.
Okay, because for us, it's
Argenta area.
Average is 25 to 35 years, and then this specific home I'm talking about, it's forever. And then remember, even though 25, 35 years it could come off, they can still renegotiate and have it go on again. Like, we still need it for blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of BS is what it is.
Well, yes, but there have been some areas that were kind of downtrodden that have been improved by those.
Sure.
So we have seen areas improve, but now the consumers are paying for it for sure.
Sure. And that makes sense. But so the thing is, because what they're in place for around here is to build the Vons, to build to put a police force together and a fire department together and do all that stuff potentially. But it makes it sound like they're building out in the middle of nowhere on the top of a mountain. But what they're doing is it's just the next little city over, or a chunk of a city that they bought it, they bought a farm or something. Now they're building on it. So these aren't rural areas that are being developed. They already have schools in place.
Utilities, all that stuff is already there.
Everything's already there. So this extra 0.8%, now tax rates are at 2%. That's crazy. On a house that's 500 grand, you're paying $10,000 a year.
It sounds like a lot of you builders need to come out here.
I know. And a lot of, on a resale house, it's going to be at the 1.2 average. So it's going to save you, $3,600 a year.
Wow. Okay, let's get to the next story. Former Century 21 CEO lands executive role at Remax. So this is kind of a short story because we covered Nick Bailey I think that was his name, right? Nick Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah. As he left Century 21 as the CEO. Wasn't he there for like 6 months or something?
It was I should tag him. I'm friends with him.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to let him say it in his own words. He said, at the start of this year, I made a big decision to step down from my role as CEO of a well-established and respected real estate brand, not for another opportunity, but for my family, who calls Colorado home. Bailey said in a statement. Some speculated where I might wind up, knowing Colorado was the home to Remax, my former stomping grounds. The truth is, I didn't have a specific plan in mind. Nick Bailey, the former CEO of Century 21 Real Estate, is set to take on a new role at Remax as the Chief Customer Officer in his home state of Colorado.
CCO.
Mm-hmm.
So
Samara said, why y'all cut out?
Oh.
Are we back? Tell us if we're back.
I haven't had any issues.
Me neither. Melanie Hayes said, oh, this is back on the whatchamacallit, on the taxes and such. She said, and supply. She said, admittedly, we're a resort town, but almost all new current construction is in the 300K plus range. There are some in the 239K range. I would not consider that affordable for our economic area. The builders developers say there's no room to profit below that. Yes, that's what we hear. So Melissa Mara said, I'm back. So it's just her. So that's exactly what they're saying in our area too. But
yeah, so I mean, to me, I didn't discourage. I was just trying to inform yesterday when I went live and did the thing about new construction. But essentially, the difference in the same city between 500 grand and what if your budget was 500 grand, and you could afford the 640 or whatever, essentially is you're all in. I don't know. Yeah. There's just a big difference there. But going back to Nick Bailey, remember we did a big story. Oh my gosh, he's leaving. He's going to C21. And now it's like, nah, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do
it. I think it was big because he went there.
Yeah.
And then we covered him leaving, and the reason for him leaving wanting to be closer to family. We thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And now he's still where he wants to be, which is Colorado. He's just at Remax, and they made a position for him. They basically invented this position called Chief Customer Officer, CCO. So C-level executive for Remax, probably focusing on customer experience.
And keeping them from capsizing.
Maybe they'll do a new brand push, because wasn't that one of the things that he did at Century 21? He had this awesome brand look, and now Century 21.
I think so. Their cool new C21. I thought in a million years, if you asked me, it would be so difficult to get Century 21 away from that old coat thing and their offices. By the way, if you still go into their offices, they still have that feel a little bit, but I love the rebranding. That C21 is cool. It looks great on signs. I think they did an amazing job. If that were him,
better than the Cole Banker baseball logo.
Yeah, so maybe because Clayton Fernando Estrems, he's got a short leash for Remax right
now. All right, so you ready to deep dive?
I think we're ready to deep dive, dude.
Good stories to deep dive. I'm excited about it.
Yes.
Okay. How the push against single-family zoning will impact agents. Melanie Hay. Shots fired. I love their focus on customer experience was about their agents first.
Ooh, there's our first shade of the show.
Clayton Fernando Estrim said Remax is coming out with badass videos again. Hey, there you go. Is that because Nick, Clayton? Okay. All right. So back on this topic, guys. Stick with. There's a delay, so I understand. Sometimes we backtrack on some of the comments due to the delay. So how the push against single-family zoning will impact agents. This article is courtesy of Jim Dalrymple II. He's staff writer for Inman. I'll kind of skim some of the article as we read it. When David Bauer moved into Minneapolis Kingfield neighborhood 2.5 decades ago, it was filled with starter homes. The city was shedding population at the time, and Bauer, now a retired journalist, chose that area because, well, he could afford it. Over the years, Bauer raised his family. Brauer, Brauer, raised his family in the area. He spoke glowingly of the neighborhoods during the recent conversation with Inman, but said there was just one problem. There aren't good housing options nearby for the day where he and his wife downsize. Quote, I think in general, people who are older than me want to get rid of their snow shovels and snow blowers. They'll want to live in some sort of apartment/condo type setup, Brower said. Housing options aren't just about affordability. They aren't just about density. They're about being able to age in the communities that you love, and the options for us are few and expensive. So for many years, they would have been out of luck. Most American neighborhoods outside of urban centers are full of standalone homes, and the places don't really change thanks to single family zoning or local regulations that limit what types of housing is allowed. Zoning has been ubiquitous in the US for generations and is a primary reason you can't tear down your house and build an apartment building in its place. Let me skip down here. Why are exactly the cities and states going to change their single family zoning laws? The short answer is that home prices are really, really high and in many cases going up. San Francisco is often touted as a poster city for this issue. Last year, a report showed that in the Bay Area metropolis is now made up of mostly $1 million homes. Second report showed that the home prices in San Francisco rose an astounding $561 a day. Similar, if less extreme versions of this story have played out over the past few years in Los Angeles, Denver, Austin, Washington, D.C., many others. While some metro have seen prices cool down a little bit, the key that is the growth of the housing costs has outpaced the growth of wages. So what does this have to do with zoning? Problem is zoning limits the housing makeup in a given market. So basically, if I could summarize the rest of the article, there are a lot of communities that are starting to change their zoning rules and regulations near single family areas to allow multifamily housing, whether it's condos, townhomes, or even apartment complexes, to move in.
Or even if you could just be able to build your own little mother-in-law quarters off the back of your house or out, if you have a bigger lot. Again, we have smaller lots here, but if you have that 20,000 square foot lot, if you were able to do that, that would help exponentially because it's cheaper to build than buy, right?
Yeah, for sure. And when you have, like he was talking about, the multi-generational thing happening where folks are getting older, but they still want to kind of age in place, but they can no longer take care of their yard. The multifamily allows them to stay in the same community they're in and in the same area they're in, but not have the additional home maintenance, yard maintenance, and all that other stuff. And for years, we've also been talking about urban infill. You remember that where we were talking about people moving closer into the cities?
Yep.
And we said that there were a lot of millennials that were doing that, but this may be a case where we see older people who are out in the suburbs, don't want to take care of their places, move into condos. Because I know I've seen that in our area. We have older people that own condos because they want to take care of anything and they like being in the city.
Yeah.
So we may have a case of urban infill from the suburbs, which should free up some inventory in the future if that happens as well.
Yeah.
So multifamily housing, the question is, how does it affect agents? Well, if you look at gigantic cities like New York, I mean, they sell multifamily housing all day. They're stacked on top of each other. So I don't really think it has a huge impact on agents. It's just how the agents sell, how the agents market will change.
Right.
Melanie Hayes said, I would love more multifamily zoning. And she wasn't throwing shade. She was serious earlier.
Serious shade.
Serious. Pete Thorpe said, we have an 80-unit townhome community with 4 more towers with multi-use on the first floor and 40 apartments getting dropped into our sleepy town. And they're all rentals, like 2 blocks from my office. Going to crush traffic around here. That's true, but how's it going to affect housing? Do you think, is your area an area that needs the additional rentals, or is this going to prevent people from buying? Is it going to bring more people into the area who will later buy?
I mean, because that's twofold, right? Because they're multi-use, meaning they can have businesses below, right?
Yeah, multi-use. So that's on the first floor, and then 40 apartments.
That's potentially 80 families that may purchase that aren't going to purchase, and however many of the multi-use ones below that aren't going to purchase commercial space or rent commercial space. They're all going to be right there in that one unit. So that might take a little chunk out of it.
They use examples in this article about Oregon adopted a similar approach and even went further House Bill 2001 requires cities with 25,000 or more people to allow duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and clusters of small homes on parcels that had been restricted to just single-family homes. So cities with at least 10,000 are now required to permit duplexes in what had been single-family zones.
We have a lot of areas that are, things that were built in the 20s, 30s, 40s and stuff that are kind of grandfathered in. They're zoned R2. So what I see, I mean, I don't see a ton of it, but they're already zoned R2. So you can build another unit off the back, or you can turn your home, if it's bigger, into an income property, and you build out the attic, and turn that into a rental or whatever. So they're already zoned that way, but you got to find the area. Newer stuff is only zoned for single family.
I think that's what we're seeing too in some of the. I'm wondering if this is mostly the older areas and not. We think in our brain when we think of single family areas are being turned into multifamily. You think of this little suburban neighborhood, and then boom, you have like a duplex next door to you. I don't think that's what's happening. I think more what you're seeing is that closer into the city, some of the older home areas, those are the areas that are being rezoned and allowed for multifamily, multi-use, and that kind of thing. That they may have an older home on there that would be demoed anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pete Thorpe said, no need for rentals. They're drawing rentals from Maryland who are paying $2,000 plus a month, $1,400 plus a month for a brand new place. Locals are not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of cities like that too. Kind of what you just mentioned, where you're just like, cool, single family, single family, single family. Oh, a fourplex, single family, single family. Oh, weird.
Yeah. Let's see.
Hey, we got to check in from Ryan Bokros.
Dale Earnhardt. He said, we are starting to see some mixed use stuff coming up around us as well. Not much in the 55 plus range, but we're seeing it in the burbs, which is crazy. So he is seeing it in the burbs.
Imagine that. So what if I owned
55 plus rentals with stores below?
Do you have those where the front is like a single family looking home and then there's 3 rentals, like apartments off the back?
No.
Because we have a lot of those, not necessarily in my city, but I see them a lot. So imagine that if you owned, right now, I'm at almost 46, I owned that and then rented out the 3. And then when I get older, I move into the downstairs condo apartment, rent out the 2 apartments, and then rent out the full single family. I mean, you just live there your whole life without any big move.
That is interesting. Basically like a quadplex. Is that what that would be?
Yeah, a little fourplex. There's some that are, I mean, that's usually what I see. Like we sold one in Pomona for that. It was the front house was kind of like a house, 2 little house units, and then the back one had 2 apartments built over a garage.
Interesting. Melissa Mart said, I would rather they build none age restriction units.
So she has to deal with a lot of 55 up.
Have to be 55 plus.
Yeah, she has to deal with a lot of 55 up, and we have a couple cities around here where there's a lot of 55. And if agents don't pay attention, they're going to show their 35-year-old client a 55 up community, and they can't buy that house.
Wow, we don't really have much of that at all here. I mean, the nursing home, but that's about it. Okay, so speaking of The Big Short.
That's perfect transitions
probably. Let's see. Melissa Mara said for the mixed use rentals they're building is the 55 plus stuff.
So yeah, the Big Short dude is at it again. So one of the early investors that profited off the shortages, meaning he bought bad loans and predicted it. And I think he was the subject of I think he was the Christian Bale, isn't he?
Was it Christian Bale that played that part? I can't remember who actually played.
Yeah, Christian Bale played, I think, this dude. So, and I'm just going to read directly from the article.
Okay.
So if I can't read it, then it's the article's fart. See, that's the article's fault. Michael Burry, one of the first investors to call and profit from the subprime mortgage crisis, is seeing a similar bubble in passive investing. Passive investments such as index funds, and it's going to get kind of technical because he goes deep into this stuff. Index funds and exchange traded funds are inflating stock and bond prices in a similar way that collateralized debt obligations did for subprime mortgages more than 10 years ago. He told Bloomberg News in an email. When the massive inflows into passive vehicle reverse, it will be ugly. And that part is a quote for him. It'll be ugly. So now this is a quote from Burry himself. Like most bubbles, the longer it goes on, the worse the crash will be. This is very much like the bubble in synthetic asset-backed CDOs before the great financial crisis, and in that price setting in that market was done by fundamental security level analysis, but by massive capital flows based on Noble approved models of risk that proved to be untrue. So Burry manages about 340 million at Cyan Asset Management. He shot to fame by betting against mortgage securities before the 2008 crisis, which was depicted in Michael Lewis's book, The Big Short. So what does all that say, Ray? All those big, fancy, fun words.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm still digesting all this stuff.
It's a lot to digest. That's why I'm asking you, so we can digest it together.
Trillions of dollars in assets globally are indexed in these stocks. The theater keeps getting more crowded, but the exit door is the same as it always was.
So this isn't as cut and dry as, you know, if you've never seen The Big Short, by the way, I truly believe that it should be required viewing before you get out of high school and become an adult. Because it sheds light on a lot of things that people didn't know about or didn't know were happening, but it's still pretty straightforward. People were, you know, giving bad mortgages. Lenders were giving bad mortgages that they knew, and most of them were adjustable rate mortgages. So they knew in 5 years, if that payment ballooned, they wouldn't be able to afford it. So this dude bet against that and started buying those subprime mortgages, and then did extremely well. So that's pretty straightforward as far as home, but this is in a different world that a lot of people don't pay attention to.
So the index funds can follow another fund negatively or positively. Like you could invest in a Dow Jones index that it has like a 2 times multiplier on it. So as the Dow goes up 2 times, it goes up 2 times. As it goes down 2 times, it goes, or as it goes down 2 times, right? Another thing that you could do with index funds is to invest in something that follows like a specific type or industry without investing. It just follows the way those investments are going, not necessarily investing in those investments. Does that make sense? So I think he's talking about some of those index funds that are passive funds that have ballooned to more than 3 trillion in the market in less than 10 years.
Well, and passive means they're making money off of somebody else's money.
Right. They're making money off the move.
Right.
It's gambling. They're making money off the move and not money off the money.
It is. And they have so much money already invested. They don't care really if it's a win or a loss. They're going to profit either way.
Yeah. Ashley Miller says The Big Short is one of the most well-made films that depicts and explains exactly what happens.
And Margot Robbie is drinking champagne in a bubble bath.
There you go. I have to say, after I watched that movie, I felt better about being an agent in 2006 and 7.
Meaning it wasn't your fault kind of thing?
Hard. Yeah, it was really hard in that time. And I thought, oh, wow, man, everyone went through this. It just felt better.
Yeah, it's good to know you're not alone.
Did you read this last part? Many notable investors have sounded alarms on the proliferation of passive investing.
No, huh?
They call it herding behavior.
Ooh.
It's like the old dollar. I remember there was a warning against penny stocks back in the day. Everyone was playing the penny stocks and day trading them, and people were like, penny stocks are inflating their prices crazily because everyone's day trading penny stocks. You would have to think that this starts to even it out, though, right? I mean, that's the purpose of capitalism, is it eventually starts to even out as people start to move their money.
Potentially. But too much of a good thing or too much of one thing can balloon things in the wrong way.
But even if, so when the massive inflows, there it is, when the massive inflows into passive vehicles reverse, it will be ugly. So when the passive investments, passive vehicles go down, it'll affect a huge portion of the market
because there's too many on the passive side. So not if, he's not saying if, he's saying when.
It'll be a loss of wealth because it's not going anywhere.
Right. It's just going to move somewhere. So is this going to affect a regular consumer? Is this going to crash markets like the housing crisis did?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Said, for those of us that were on the mortgage side, it will be like PTSD and laughing my ass off at the same time, knowing what exactly knowing it was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Pete Thorpe says, Bitcoin, anyone?
Aha.
I think
So interesting. So, this is one of those things where we just kind of report it. We're not really predicting anything. We're kind of reporting it saying, hey, this is a thing.
Definitely not telling you to follow our financial investing advice.
No. Oh, I clicked on the wrong. I was trying to bring up the. That is not the one I wanted to bring up. I was trying to bring up. Did you see Melanie found the one for the compass and contextually?
Oh, yeah.
But I accidentally clicked on the one Tim Macy of the Tim Macy Show and hashtag whiteboxing sent, which is bricks of cocaine wash up on Florida beaches from Hurricane Dorian waves.
Again.
Oops. Yeah. Again, really? Bum, bum, bum. So you can click on the Melanie one. I don't have Inman, but clients allege Compass is no longer supporting contextually. Is that a thing? Should we talk about
it? We can, or we can save it for next week.
I think we should save it for next week. I think we've covered a lot of good stuff, We're a very family-friendly show.
Cool.
Yeah, there's never any bad words. There's some insinuation with the "that's what she said" jokes, but that's about it.
Speaking of,
yeah,
let's see. I don't have a pick of the week this week.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
You're wearing it.
Oh yeah, the shirts. So we are running low on shirts. I'm gonna have to order some more.
Yeah.
So, if you want a shirt,
when you want
a bit of a wait. But we will post the link that Pete set up a little order page for us. So we really appreciate that. We'll post the link in there and order one. They're $20? And
$20.
We ship it out to you. We are going to have to order more. So if you order a size that I don't have, it's okay. We'll just have to wait maybe a couple of weeks until we get some more in.
If you're physically local to me, I have some left in both blue and gray, but I only have small, mediums, and larges in both. Yeah. Turns out a lot of our listeners are bigger.
Yeah.
Men.
Well, I'm bigger, so I had to order a bunch of mine. Melissa Mara says, I want more shirts. 2 was not enough.
By the way, if Ray were to turn around, you would see that we have our little saying on the back: listen, learn, love. See? So you get more. Look at that. Look at that. CrossFit coming in. Oh, sorry.
Showing up well. All right, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just admiring Ray for a minute. Front and back for $20, and you support our I like to call it our plucky little show.
Yeah, there you go. And the money does go right. We're putting it right back into the show. So we've almost got the website finished. I've almost got the website finished, and then we'll have the little podcast going too.
Yay, because Spotify. By the way, Spotify, they were great. And I mean, Anchor was great. And then Spotify bought them. Now we have issues trying to put the show up because we're a news show that talks about news and big name brands, which is kind of what we have to do. But now Spotify on my Android, they got rid of you guys don't know what a widget is because you don't have an Android. But see the little clock application that I can move around, put it wherever I want. And see my Gmail that I can move around and put wherever I want. Those are little widgets, so I don't have to go open an app. They're just right there. And Spotify had one. They've gotten rid of it.
Oh.
So Spotify is kind of on the outs right now. What they've done to Anchor and now what they're doing because I flip over, on a habit, I flip over, go, oh, nope, not there.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that. Melissa Mara says, be more tribe, hashtag.
Hashtag be more tribe. Hashtag be more babes. We have we have subsects of be more that are taking off.
Contributors need to do the contributors. So Dan, besides the contributors, where can everybody find you?
D Ludwig rocks everywhere. DLUDWIGROCKS. Go follow me on Instagram. I'm doing more. It's on my schedule to do more over there, more content, not just a picture of me and my girls or me and my dog or me and my food. I want to put more content over there. I put a lot of content on the Facebooks, but not as much on the Insta. So I'm working at building that one out.
I'm putting more on the Insta.
On
the Insta. I'm doing a lot with stories lately.
So a ton with stories.
Ray Zorback, RayZorback. So give me a follow. Well, thanks y'all for joining the show. We really appreciate all the conversation and comments and sharing the show.
Great.
That has made this show what it is, and we really appreciate you guys.
We are both very, very charming bearded individuals.
Yeah,
it's true. But without you guys, we're nothing. So we appreciate you guys. We love you guys.
I mean, I'll still have a beard, but
yeah, we'll still be charming bearded people, but but our show moves along because you guys, and we love it and we appreciate it. So thank you.
So bye, y'all. We'll see you next week. Bye. Y'all wave. Are you waving?
We're all waving.